How do they know they're getting a good deal when purchasing real estate in Istanbul?
Something that's really interesting is that we're having probably 100 sales a month in Istanbul just for what we would consider luxury purchases, $1 million plus. People who have money know that their money's safe here.
Something everyone talks about is location, location, location.
Demographics in Istanbul play a huge role in the neighborhood value. You can get into the project quite easily, but how do you get out? What's your exit strategy?
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Josiah Blair, and we get the opportunity to welcome Justin Mays, our International Sales and Marketing Director. Justin, how are you?
I'm good, Josiah. How are you?
Great. Wanted to get together today to talk about an important question for buyers. How do they know they're getting a good deal when purchasing real estate in Istanbul?
Yeah, it is a good question because I think that's ultimately what everyone wants to know when they buy. They want to know that they're getting real value for the money that they're spending.
Right.
And so, there's usually 3-4 things that you can really analyze and look at that will tell you if you've made the right decision. And we'll kind of go through that as we go through this conversation. And I'll highlight some key areas and I'll point out some places that really the client should be looking at to know that they're in the right place and they've done the right thing.
What's something you could say, how is the market currently in Istanbul?
Right now, we're kind of seeing, it's a changing market. Every month, it's something different. And so we're constantly having to adapt, right? So what we're seeing now is that we've got really low-end clients from 0 to 250,000. This seems to be the bulk of the sales that are taking place in Istanbul. If we look back at January, there were 611 sales in Istanbul. And it's, we don't get the exact dollar figure, but knowing from just communication and being in and around the business that a good majority of those are at 200,000 and less. So we see the 0 to 200,000, but then there's a gap in the middle market. And so the middle market, to be very fair, has been taken up by places like Dubai and some of the other areas in the Gulf and England and a couple of other countries that have gotten kind of these new immigration programs and offering some really high rental returns on the front side. So that has kind of disappeared. Now we are seeing that it is creeping back a little bit, but not to the levels that we saw in 2022, 2021, etc. But something that's really interesting is that we're having, I'd say, probably 100 sales a month in Istanbul just for what we would consider luxury purchases, $1 million plus. And so, that is something that in the past, where we had that middle market, a lot of that luxury segment didn't exist. And so it's kind of it's a really unique trend that we're seeing and something that we're following and something that we're adapting to. So that's kind of an interesting thing, is that people who have money know that their money's safe here. So, that's a pretty positive sign of things to come, I hope.
Very good. And then in regards to, somebody doing some research or knowing like maybe comps in the area or area, that they're considering buying in, how is that? Is it easy to find information for these potential buyers or is this something that the brokers usually take care of? Or
Herein lies the problem. Okay. This is the biggest issue that clients face when they're coming into Istanbul. Unfortunately, we don't have a very robust system to find, kind of a neighborhood comp by comp comparison of this is what you're paying here, this is what you're paying. Now, there are some resource tools. You have, for example, you have like a Sahibinden that you can go and you can research the market analysis. And it will tell you like the average square meter price is this or the average square meter price is that. But the problem is that it's only going to take from the listings that it has available. So if you're having like a brand new project and they're listing their apartments for maybe 20% above what it's saying on the particular site, it doesn't mean that that property is not a good option. It just means that the costs and things have not yet caught up to the neighborhood. So the construction costs and the labor costs and everything that's involved, because maybe this neighborhood's a little bit older, this particular property looks like it's much higher than the normal neighborhood average. And so, we just don't have a really good analysis. So this is where the agent should come in and say, "Hey, I'm the expert. I know what's going on. Let me help you navigate those steps." So if you're looking for a good deal, the first thing that you have to do is find an agent or find a company that is actually going to be able to provide that analysis and that detailed kind of guideline for you. Because if not, you're buying in the blind. You're buying in the dark, just eyes closed, trying to do doing a purchase without really knowing what you're getting yourself into,
Right.
and that's a bad situation.
Right, of course, of course. An important aspect too, I think, always at least something everyone talks about is location, location, location.
Mhm.
Here at Yedi Mavi, I think we have a fantastic location, but of
Right.
course that's just
Yeah, we're not biased, are we?
yeah, we're just selling this project and happy to be part of it. But maybe you could give us some other reasons why maybe Yedi Mavi could be an ideal location for a real estate purchase.
Yeah, you always hear the 3 L's: location, 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 as you said. But I think that there's something that's very interesting that is really unique to Istanbul real estate. And this goes back to, how do you know you're getting a good deal? Demographics in Istanbul play a huge role in the neighborhood value. So traditionally, obviously we're American with the funky accents, we know that in America, people will move into the suburb, they'll move into a new neighborhood, gentrification takes place over here, and they'll move over and they'll do those things. Typically, the Turkish market has not done that. If Etiler was hot, Etiler's still hot. If Levant was hot, Levant is still hot. If Beşiktaş, Karakoy, etc., you know, they're very particular on where they are, and that name carries a lot of weight. So, the location matters, and that's where we get in here at Yedi Mavi with Kazlıçeşme. If you look at Kazlıçeşme, the average price per square meter when you're giving your property for rent has now surpassed $20 per square meter.
No.
We have surpassed Etiler, we have surpassed Beşiktaş, we've surpassed all of these neighborhoods that had typically kind of reigned supreme at the top for the rental ROI, and we've surpassed that. But the interesting part, and it goes again back to how you know you're getting a good deal, our price per square meter is on average $3,000 to $4,000 less than those locations. So if you're looking at, how do you get in? How do you get a good deal? How do you know that you're getting value? Then these are the type of things that you have to analyze. Okay, I understand Etiler carries a lot of weight, Karakoy carries a lot of weight. But if you're looking and you're thinking about what makes dollars and cents, then you have to, really analyze, and you'll see Kazlıçeşme, Yedi Mavi, at our price point really offers a unique opportunity for buyers. And it's not just in the short term. You're obviously going to get the rental ROI, but just in Kazlıçeşme alone, we're on average between 15 to 20% less than the nearby competition. So if you look at that and you take everything into consideration, you're like, it just makes sense. So, it's something where we try to talk to our clients, educate our clients, and be like, look, you came in with the idea that you want to invest. So let's take all of the personal, all of the emotional out of it, and let's just look at the facts and figures and show me a project that offers something better. And I'm not just saying here, go to anywhere in the city center and tell me where you're going to get something based on figures alone better. You won't find it. And for me, that's how you know you're getting a good deal. So, it's important again to, if you're sitting at home and you're researching, to not look at, oh man, look at that Bosphorus view and look at this and that. That's fantastic. That's great. But at the end of the day, if your idea and your strategy is, I'm going to hold on to it for 3, 5, 10 years, I'm going to use it, I'm going to have a beautiful place to stay, you have amazing facilities, centrally located, but then at the end, I want to sell it one day, then you've got to be thinking about these things. And so that's how Yedi Mavi stands out. And that's why we've decided to be a part of this project.
And then in addition, I think maybe in conclusion, it also kind of ties into what you were saying earlier about how the locals are the most aware of what's going on in the trends and
Right.
and things. And so with this project, I believe the majority here somewhere is 75% Turkish purchase.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
increasing by the day. So one of the things that is somewhat frustrating, understanding the market. And I know that a lot of our clients have spent some time in Istanbul, but they don't understand the demographics. We get a lot of times, well, Maslak, I can get a similar unit for $100,000 cheaper. And okay, maybe you can. But if you look at, who's buying, this project is specific 75% Turkish. And why is that important? It's extremely important because at the end of the day, a lot of our buyers are transient buyers. They come, they spend a few weeks out of the year. Maybe they live here part time. Maybe they even live here full time. And then in 3, 4 years, they want to move into a new project or they want to go somewhere else. But who's left behind and who stays are the Turkish buyers. And then who's buying these properties when our foreign clients decide to leave? Turkish buyers. So if you go into Maslak, if you go into a lot of Kadıköy, if you go into a lot of like Haliç and some of these really hyped areas, what you'll see is that okay, great, you can get into the project quite easily, but how do you get out? What's your exit strategy? And so this is something that I think that the market is severely lacking. And again, going into how do you know you got a good deal? Is knowing you got a good deal is knowing that you have an exit. And so you have to analyze and you have to say, okay, Maslak and Halic, these are these areas that are, it's not 75% Turkish. I would be shocked if it was 50-50. So who's going to buy that property? Most of the foreign buyers coming in, they want to buy citizenship or they need to buy firsthand. They're coming into Maslach or some of these other areas, and there's secondhand options that aren't suitable for citizenship because of foreigner owned. So now, as a seller, you're limited to this really small selling pool of this buying pool. And so it may stay on the market for a year and a half, 2 years while you're trying to exit. But at Yedi Mavi, you've got a Turkish market who is actively pursuing these properties that then you have a better opportunity to sell. So if you think about your locations, you think about your exit, and you think about your overall price and your return, these are really the four key things that you have to be looking for to know that you got a good deal. And this is why, we're kind of plugging Yedi Mavi today. Not kind of, but, you know, because it just makes sense. It's logical, it's transparent, it's hands off. I don't need to sell. You don't need to sell. Come, look at the numbers, make the decision for yourself. It's that simple.
Yeah. So, and with that, we look forward to seeing you here to talk with us about why Yedi Mavi is one of the best deals on the market today in Istanbul. Thanks for joining.